Hi everybody, welcome back to the... Oh, what?
Camera's up there, you're looking at me.
Oh, sorry, I thought the camera was there. Thank you. Good start. Use that as a blooper. Oh. Hi everyone, it's Nicole here from the Garrion Tower. Welcome back. This is today going to be my 1 year anniversary from buying the Garrion Tower, which is just crazy that it's been a year. I can't believe it. Feel like we've done nothing, but we've actually done loads. So today with me, I'm being joined by Bruce and Kylie from Block Architects. Last week or a couple of weeks ago, we'd done a podcast with Kenny, who is the owner of Block Architects, and he was just giving us a wee rundown on their involvement in the Garrion Tower and their part that they're playing in it. And exciting news that we had some concept drawings to be revealed, and today that's what we're going to be doing. So Bruce and Kylie, I'll hand it over to you. Please give the people what they want.
Sure, right, okay. How do I give the people what they want? Right? So I suppose in the first instance, Kenny came to me just before Christmas and said, look, I've been speaking to Nicole of G4 Claims. She's bought Garrion Tower. She's looking to develop us into the kind of standout wedding venue.
She's mad as a brush.
Mad as a brush. There were a few things said. But as Kenny knows, you know, when it comes to me towards the end of the day, and especially towards the end of the year, I kind of blank a lot of things out. So he did say I'll be working on a project after Christmas involving a tower in great need of renovation down in the Clydeside. And Laura came in to see us. We started pinging ideas off each other. She knew she had a vision in her head of what she wanted, and that was quite clear. And she was saying things, you know, like treehouse, a water feature. You know, there's this beautiful I always call it a pergola down in the bottom of the garden. I forget the name of it. I'm sure someone will.
It's the
pavilion. Sorry,
the pavilion. Aye,
I've called it many names, and they know what I'm trying to say. So just things start going on in your head. You're like, right, okay, how can we, you know, take all of these things into account and put that into your vision, but in a more architectural sense. So Kylie and I, after that meeting with Laura, Kylie and I went to the site, and it was the first time I'd seen the house, obviously, or the tower, and we were blown away by, you know, everything around it. So not just the house, but everything around it, all the land, you know, the way it slopes down to the river, the trees, and everything that Laura had said to me about tree houses, you know, maybe a wee jetty to the river, things like that. You could start to visualise how those might look, and you start to visualise, right, you've got this wonderful tower sitting atop of this big slope overlooking this huge swathe of grass, down to the trees, down to the river. How can we connect people from that tower on this journey all the way down and all the way back up? So after we went to site, what should normally happen is you would do a site analysis, which is what we showed you a couple of weeks ago, where you have, you know, you consider the environmental impact of what you're doing and how it is just now, and then how you're going to change that and how that's going to impact the environment. You consider things like access, the sun path, you know, where the sun's going to rise, where the sun's going to set. How's that going to affect not only the views out, shadowing, things like that. How's that curvature of that sun going to guide people around that site and around that building, so you can start to use everything that it has to offer. You'd mentioned, you know, you want kind of fine dining on one side, you want a wedding venue on another side. And we're thinking, how do we separate those two things to give these people that are coming for a private wedding, you know, a same experience as the people that are just coming for dinner. You want everyone that's coming to this building to enjoy this building in the way it's intended to be enjoyed.
Yep.
And Laura, as I was scanning through the sheet, said things like champagne bar, etc., etc. And then we're thinking, right, okay, you've got all these wonderful views. You want to plonk this building, or you have this building, you want to plonk something next to it to accommodate all these extra people, and you also want to put something on the other side of it to accommodate all these other extra people. So we start thinking, right, we're going to be taking away some of what already exists. So we're taking away green space, and you've got so much green space, but as we know, that there might be a development going on the other side, or wrapping around the tower. So we're starting to think, right, as architects, how do we design something that gives back or brings back green space? So straight away we're thinking, right, a green roof. So we start to think, right, connecting to nature. Right, we've got this green roof, and then Laura mentioned a champagne bar on the brief, and I'm thinking, right, we can have a champagne bar within that roof, you know, structure, but that champagne bar...
My favourite part's coming up.
That champagne bar then leads to this, you know, this rooftop terrace.
Ooh.
something similar to what you see in New York, but tailored obviously for our climate. So, again, I'm thinking, right, you want to really think, if you're plonking this big thing here, you're taking away quite a lot of the views. It's going to be dark out the back in the evening because all the sun's going to be at the front. So you have this kind of 360 rooftop terrace that allows you to, take in all of the views, all of the sunlight, everything from, dawn until dusk.
Drink all the way around the bar
drink
as
all the
well.
way around, exactly what you need. So, so then we put together a few ideas of, right, a champagne bar, thinking of this kind of idea of, your ladies coming out for a ladies' day, or, gents doing the same thing, something that is a very exclusive thing. You have the champagne bar, you have exclusive access to this rooftop bar, you've got views all around you, you've got, fresh air, nature, everything, you're absorbed in everything that has to offer. And
this is the kind of images here for this up in this corner.
So that's the kind of images. So we've got a green roof, we've got a rooftop terrace in New York, obviously, which is slightly different views to what we'll have in Lanarkshire, but something just as magical. Mm-hmm. A champagne bar, something like that. And then we start to move around the site, and we think, right, there's so many places on that site, so many features which form part of the analysis, that we want to be able to say to prospective wedding guests or people wanting to get married at your venue, you can get married here, you can get married there. There's all these spots where you can get married, whether it's inside or outside. And if you choose to get married inside, there's all these spots around the grounds where you can take your photographs and, capture everything about your day. So we're thinking like a moongate, for example, which, is this kind of structure that sits there, but it becomes something embedded within your landscape.
Yeah.
You've got a pavilion down the bottom, which, I think that was burnt down however many years ago, but you start to think, right, there was a pavilion there. How do we make a more modern pavilion?
Yeah.
And do we landscape the ground around it? Do we, make that thing where if it's a very small wedding, I want to get married outside. If it's a beautiful pavilion, there you go. You've got everything you need. You've got the sound of the river, trees, all the rest of it. So you've got this really magical space. But then one thing that caught my mind straight away was, getting married in an old tower. So straight away I thought, right, it's a very rustic thing to get married in an old tower. Weddings these days, you see some beautiful images on Pinterest, Instagram, all the rest of it. The way things are, the structure remains, so the structure's in ruin almost, but everything that's brought into that structure, is magical and perfect to the people getting married. So you've got what I believe can be a kind of wedding hall, like a chapel within the lower ground of the tower, which overlooks all of your grounds out the back, but you've still got this very rustic, towery, castle type feel,
is the idea of this
which
here.
is there. So we're seeing, things draping from the ceiling, lights, you've got alcoves, things like that. All of these become illuminated, or they become features of what was and what's there. You've got a beautiful kissing tree to the front of the tower. And so as you come in from the kind of tree-lined road, the first thing you see before you see the tower really is this huge commanding kissing tree. So, this has just given us an idea of, again, placement around the site, of how people can move around the site. So as it comes night time, this might become this beautiful illuminated tree. Super romantic photographs.
That's the thing, sometimes when you go and get married, you maybe need to go off-site to get your pictures done, because you want to go somewhere where that, like, greenery and whatever, literally everything's going to be on site here.
Everything, that again, going back to the first meeting with Laura, everything can be on site, because the site is so vast, but so many features, so many original features, and so many features that we feel can be modernised to give you that, that little bit extra and make that a superb selling point. These then led to a set of plans that we showed you last time. And then Kylie and I took those plans, and, it's still, everything's in development at the minute. It's still low level, it's still very conceptual. It's shapes and sizes as opposed to a finalised design. And these are just to give indicative areas, really, because Laura's brief gave us numbers. And again, you can give us numbers of 100 or 200 people, but that's not to say that you can get a space that's going to hold 100 or 200 people. So you really need to think about, right, how much space have I got on the site? How does the land lie to allow me to accommodate a building big enough to take everyone that you want on that site? So back to the analysis drawings. The way the site slopes, it slopes on an angle. So The new bit of the building is angular to follow that shape of the land. And that means that every part of that building is then overlooking and sloping down to the garden. Everyone gets to come in, original features are maintained, and then there's something, whether it's a visible sign or something that would then say, right, you know, if you're coming to the restaurant, you come one way. If you're coming here for a function, you turn another way.
Yeah.
But that would then be a kind of central space where we're thinking like a feature reception area. You know, it's an old tower, there would be a roaring fire, there would be furniture that's complementary to that kind of age and that time and where it's set, things like that. And then you'd start to move through this building, and you're either moving through it because you've just come for, I think we discussed a nice steak last time, so you've just come for something to eat, or you've come here to celebrate your friend's wedding.
Yep.
So you would then you wouldn't be moved, but you would naturally flow to that part of the building where you're there to visit. Again, it's quite rudimentary at this stage, because we're working with shapes based on the information that we have at the minute, based on sizes, based on things. So as this concept develops, everything changes, you know.
Yep.
Sizes, spaces, everything might change. But right now I can say we're thinking like a fancy restaurant, you know, with an open kitchen, huge big glazed screens, views out. So if you're there for your dinner, you're still enjoying these views. You've still got access to a terrace. You've still got everything that site has to offer. You know, a mezzanine above. And Laura and I think we're both into our fish tanks, so we were thinking, right, there's a lot of glass to this. How can we bring the river in the building?
Just for everybody watching, Laura's in the background nodding. Nodding like the Churchill dog here.
So again, this goes back to the brief that you gave us.
Yeah.
The brief you gave us.
Laura gave you.
Laura, sorry. The brief that Laura gave us is a wish list. And it's a wish list of everything that she wants.
There's a lot of birds and fish in it.
There are, but again, you know, the way it should be done is you do your analysis.
I think there was ponies in it as well, and I had to say take them.
I think last time I mentioned a peacock, maybe. We might have a resident peacock.
Like, guys, let's get a roof before we get animals.
Get something.
Let's everybody concentrate and getting a roof on it first.
So you're basically taking that wish list and thinking, right, how can I plonk that on a building? Think about the practical things first, sizes. But then as this develops and as you go through your statutory processes, a lot of things will change.
Yeah.
So what we have just now is something, this is
the plan, this is the idea.
It's an idea, exactly. It's
Absolutely.
an idea, it's a concept.
Everything starts with the ideas.
And then as we start to go further now into the design process, that concept then gets taken to another level and another level and another level, bringing into account all of the other consultants that you're required to get through those statutory processes. And it changes, but it gives you an idea of, for example, a champagne bar with exclusive rooftop access to this.
So this is, we're coming in the main reception and you've took a right because you're going to the champagne bar.
Correct.
You've come round, you've come into the champagne bar, you've drank 2 or 3 glasses, you've ended up outside, you're waving down to your pal at the wedding, hello, I'm up here.
Things are getting a bit wild.
Things are getting a bit intense. The bouncers had to come, take you outside because you're on a rooftop. But that's just me, that'll be me.
But prior to, or maybe not prior, you never know. Prior to that happening,
that'll be the opening party.
You've come into the building, you've come into this beautiful feature reception. Straight away you're saying, wow, big full height windows overlooking the grounds. You've come down a private little step which then takes you into the lower ground floor, which is, you know, where I envisage, or where we envisage, a smaller wedding to take place, which is the image of this rustic, beautiful but bespoke wedding hall. And then you've said, right, we've done our wedding, everybody, can you move to wherever, the function hall, or can we go outside to the terrace? So you're moving through the building and then you're moving out of the building. But you've gone from what was old into something ultra modern, but whilst also considering, you know, what was there prior. So it's all quite.
And you're moving through the building, for the old into the new, through the glass connectors. So everything's
a nice big glass.
Nothing
screen.
just seems too harsh against the old building, which you know its original features are still going to look good because you're not taking. You're not adding on to it with a brand new building and taking the old away from it.
We're thinking, you know, mezzanines so that the floor stops short of the glass, so that you've got still big full height strips of original stonework exposed internally.
I love that.
So, I mean, any of the stone that's within these glass connections, we envisage to all be exposed anyway. So everything is still there, no matter where you are. Like I could be at the other end of that function hall, but I've still got a view to while I'm still in this tower, because I can still see the old tower. A lot of this, the boring drawing I'll call it, came from my own hands, so that's when Kylie then comes into it, because Kylie's still at university, still studying architecture, but she's fantastic using
she's
technology.
added the fun bits.
She's added the, well, you would say the fun bits. It's the fun bits that get me grief when I ask her to change it. And that.
This is quite good to add as well, but you know, when you come in the main entrance, and I think we were talking about, you know, this being a feature area, reception area, before you lead down into obviously the kind of older style of the building where you're having, we were thinking about having our kind of features here as well for the general public, things that we've been able to save for the building, which fits in with the decor of that, you know, 100%. The old gun and the old bullets and just silly things like that we have found. So it's good as well, because the people who are, you know, really invested in this building, because it's just so important to the community, they can come into that reception area and they're not disturbing a wedding, or they don't have to go into the restaurant, but they can sit in that reception and have a coffee and just take in the history,
100%.
which also is also really important. So I'm glad that we've included that in here.
Again, well, saying that and on that, Nicole, so, you know, we've got a restaurant to the side and we're thinking a beautiful dining experience, but again, everything downstairs, these things, you need toilets, you need accessible toilets, you need everything for the public, and there's regulations that we must follow when we get to that stage. But again, we don't have much survey information at the minute, but in our heads what we're thinking is a lot of what's down there just now, all of that becomes a feature, even if it's your toilet or your staff toilet, things like that. You're maximising everything that's there already, so that the public can still say, I'm not going to this brand new function made toilet, I'm going to a toilet down in the basement of this wonderful castle, tower, wonderful tower, and it's still got those features, and you're making
it's still
the most
a history experience for that purpose, as well as being a venue where you can come and host your wedding or your event or whatever. And
the corridors and all that, you know, it'll be the original stone, and it'll again, it develops. But then when you come into this, for example, up here, it might be very difficult to see on the screen, but as you come into this glass connection, you've still got the old gable of a wee bit from the tower that still exists. So you're trying to save everything that you possibly can and include that instead of exclude it. So all of your new fancy glass connections and all that, they have to complement and fit in with what's already there, as opposed to the other way around, where you say, right, no, we're taking away bits of the tower to
That's
fit us.
honestly one thing that I love about this full plan. It's kind of one of the things that's really blew me away, is that we've managed to keep the old and the new so right. Do you know, like, it's the old and the new just seem to be meeting hand in hand, and I think it's going to work. I think people will be really, really pleased about it. You know, there's nobody going to say that you've no saved as much as you possibly can, but you've also extended it to allow it to be useful and you know, where people can come and host their wedding, their party, or come for a dinner on a Friday night or whatever. But at least that the old meets the new, and I think it's working. Isn't it, with this plan?